Welcome to the program agenda. I'm your host, Cito Beltran. It is December 11, 2020. Thank God we made it to another Friday. Maaraw po dito sa Barangay Barrio Capitolio. Pilit sumisikat ng haring araw yung aking mga dakilang basurero, mga barkada kong humahakot ng basura tinanghali. Siguro na traffic. I don't know about you, but I heard several comments yesterday of people complaining about the traffic. Eh yan na sinasabi sa inyo eh. Gusto ninyo, back to normal. Hayan, sige, back to normal. Magdusa tayo sa traffic. Di po ba? But anyway, let's not make comments on that area because it's inevitable. But today, being a Friday, we continue to pursue the topics kasi sigurado ko yung ilan sa mga topic na ito tatawid sa susunod na linggo. First and foremost, we will be pursuing this topic regarding the RFID. Kasi alam niyo po, baka kayo mga nasa probinsya, sabihin ninyo, bahala kayo sa buhay niyo dyan sa Metro Manila. Kami, hindi kami apektado. Hep, hep, hep. Yung mga gulay, baboy, mga gamit, bilihin, many of that come from the Divisoria. Your produce go to Divisoria or to Makati or to Quezon City. And pati nga po yung mga kaibigan natin na mga nasa Baguio, nasa Laguna or Quezon, they will be saying, teka, minsan lang naman ako sa isang taon lumuwas ng Manila. Pagkatapos, kailangan ko pa ngayon bumaba para lang magpakabit ng RFID. Kung matutulog ako sa hotel o magpipila ako ng 8 oras, etc., etc. Yun po, the RFID has clearly affected so many people. So we will speak with Congressman Edgar Sarmiento, Chairman of the House Committee on Transportation, dahil siya po yung haharap, siya yung mga manggigisa. I don't know. He's not known to be that kind of person. But on this instance, I think he will have to exert a lot of effort to find out sino ba talaga ang may pakana nitong buong gulo na ito at bakit. Okay. After that, may another concern. Alam naman po ninyo, yung ating academic performance ng mga bata, medyo pinag-aaralan ng iba't ibang grupo. And unfortunately, for the second time, I think in about 2 weeks, the TMSS assessment performance, Philippine Performance in TIMSS assessment in Math and Science, hindi naman lagapak, no? Pero kailangan lumangoy na parang malulunod. So we will speak with Undersecretary Diosdado San Antonio of the DEPED. And for the record, the DEPED, at least in this administration, hindi pinagtatakpan. Hindi nila tinatago kasi may mga nakaraang mga panahon, tinatago, ayaw palabasin yung mga ganyan. Pero I know, I've spoken to Secretary Briones herself, and she said, I don't care what people say. We want it out in the public so that when we do things, when we find solutions, ay tanggap nila na una't una may problema. And then, speaking of problems, yung asawa ko nag-comment kahapon ano ba yung problema yan tungkol sa mga hazard pay and mga bayad sa mga nurse at frontliners? Akala ko ba you guys consider these frontliners as your heroes? How come now they have to jump through hoops and loops para lang to apply, to fill up forms, etc., and rush to meet deadlines? So we will speak with Maristela Abenojar, of the President of the Filipino Nurses United, and Robert Mendoza, President of the Alliance of Health Workers on hazard pay requirements, deadlines, and the extension of such. So, yan po, no? And may siyempre in between, may mga comments ako sa mga ibang topic. But before we do any of that, Let's first go. Okay, sandali. It's 8:04. Medyo maganda yung timing natin. 8:04 pa lang. So kung kayo po ay bagong sampa pa lang sa kakapanood ng programa, you are watching us via, you are or can watch us via Signal TV. 3 million subscribers and counting. Okay, on channels 8 and 250. And maganda po sa Signal TV, you can watch the replays even midday and early evening. Okay, hindi ko na sinasabi kasi hindi ko na matandaan yung oras. In any case, you can also watch us on facebook.com/OneNewsPH and sa YouTube One News PH. Medyo ngayon po, tulungan nyo na lang ako na maalam ng mga ibang kaibigan natin. Kinakamusta ko po yung mga nakakausap ko sa mga piyestahan, sa mga church events, yung mga tiga Victory Christian Fellowship, mga nag-attend ng BMEG fiestahan. Kasi ako po yung pusang gala, so I'm sure yung iba sa inyo napanood na ako. Kanya lang hindi kapit-apitagan at hindi kagalang-galang ang forma. Doon kasi sa mga events kadalasan naka-t-shirt lang tayo. Anyway, let's take a look at the front page of the Philippine Star. The top story on today's paper, Palace vows there will be no graft in the purchase of COVID-19 vaccines. This after reports that Chinese firm Sinovac had bribed regulators before to secure approval. Siyempre nga naman, kasi yung naging issue ng bribery ay sa ibang bansa. Dito hindi na kailangang mang-bribe. BFF ni Presidente si Xi Jinping. Ano pong bribery? Kita nyo naman ang lakas ng mga Chinese companies, mga investors, and what have you. So, hindi na importante yan. Anyway, okay. At the top of the page, Pfizer said its documents on the COVID vaccine had been unlawfully accessed by hackers. No further details were given by the European Medicines Agency kasi hindi naman po yung Pfizer ang nabutasan o na-hack. Yung kanilang dokumento kasi, mga detalye, binigay nila doon sa European Agency, yung nangangasiwa ng mga gamot na gagamitin sa EU. Yung palang ahensya ngayon, hindi pala bulletproof o kaya impenetrable yung kanilang mga defenses sa hackers sa online. So ayun, nakulimbat yung mga detalye and dalawang klase lang naman po ang makikialam dyan o gagawa niyan. Those who have economic sabotage in mind, pag nanakawan yung technical or scientific data, or the anti-vaccine group. Medyo meron pong mga anti-vaccine group. Hopefully I can make a comment on that kasi napakasaklap po, no? Ang dami sa atin. In America, okay, in the United States, if I remember correctly, in the last 24 hours, okay, mamaya, chichikin ko na rin, 3,000 people died, okay? 3,000 po ang nireport. Ayan, no? 3,000. Baka sabihin naman nyo, Cito, exaggerated ka. Alam nyo po, ang Philippine staff, hindi nagsisinungaling. Ayan, okay? In the last 24 hours, 3,000 American citizens died from COVID-19. Pagka ganyang nagkakamatayan na parang langaw, pagkatapos meron pang anti-vaccine movement sa social media na nananakot, if you don't want the vaccine, don't get the vaccine. Don't have them administer it to you. But please, don't make decisions on other people's lives and future, especially your relatives and your friends. Medyo Paul yun, okay? In any case, going forward, meanwhile, the Health Department discourages the use of torotot for New Year celebration as it can cause transfer of saliva and may spread the coronavirus. ito po, medyo pinag-uusapan ito sa mga barkadahan sa online kasi, well, we understand the spirit of the policy of the DOH. Kasi nga naman, pag bumuga ka ng torotot, lalo na kung maikli, sumasabog yung hininga mo. And it is believed that COVID-19 is aerosolized. Pero ito yung problema doon hindi yung torotot kasi napaginitan yung torotot Ang problema kasi doon, kung bago magtorotot, di nagbababa ng mask, di ba? Bago maging issue yung mask, kung merong COVID, obviously dapat na-test na yung mga taong yun. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Sabi nga ni Presidente Duterte, natanto ko, napag-isipan ko na dapat magkaroon ng pre-testing sa Pilipinas. Ngayon pa, medyo lahat papunta na sa vaccine, tayo papunta pa lang. Doon yung sa Philippine Star editorial. Papunta pa lang tayo sa testing, sila papunta na sa vaccine. Anyway, that's life with coconut. And speaking of, speaking of coconuts, the Philippines is also seeking to lead the international trials for virgin coconut oil as potential cure for COVID. Okay. Yung iba pa dyan sa bottom page, Pala said that President Rodrigo Duterte is ready to exercise his veto powers on the 4.5 trillion peso budget for next year. Nako, bakit kaya? Meron na naman bang nasilip na na pa-bonus, pamasko o kaya umento dun sa mga ilang congressman? We will find out kasi wala pa naman tayo nadidinig. Usually, ang pumuputak dyan or tumitilaok dyan, si Senator Ping Lacson. It is usually the Senator Ping Lacson who has eagle eye doon ba sa mga palusot o kaya palalabasing legal. Tapos, teka, paulya tayong yung budget insertion na yan. In any case, Camarines Sur Congressman El Rey Villapuerte files a bill that seeks to legalize medical marijuana, but the Dangerous Drugs Board opposes the measure. Kayo naman dyan sa DDB, DDB, hindi na kayo natuto. Alam naman ninyo, ang tawag dyan, notice. Para manotice. Okay, and a Filipino-American nurse gets surprise from TV host Ellen DeGeneres getting a new SUV as a gift. Ang sarap do sa Amerikano. Pinamimigay lang. Ako, medyo marami rin ako napapanood ng mga ganyang programa. Pinamimigay lang yung mga sasakyan. Pag do-gooders, dun sa show ni Micro Returning the Favor. Niya, pinamimigay pick-up truck para dun sa mga tumutulong sa kapwa. Okay. Anyway, yan po ang buhay. Doon pinamimigay, pero doon medyo tayo dito sumusunod tayo sa mga patakaran ng gobyerno. Doon nagre-rebelde. In any case, let's go to our first guest for the day. The time is 8:13. Congressman Edgar Mary Sarmiento, the 1st District Representative of Samar and Chairperson of the House Committee on Transportation. Kong, good morning sa imo.
Sid, good morning to your viewers as well. Merry Christmas in advance.
Merry Christmas! Mabuti, inunahan mo ako sa batian kasi talagang kailangan i-promote natin itong Pasko kasi para tayong papunta sa All Souls Day. In any case, yeah, go ahead, Congressman.
Yeah. Tama po yan. Sana I mean, we're still in the stage of pandemic. I'm hoping this will end with the vaccine.
Okay. In any case, nako, ingat ka rin kasi dalawa ng kaibigan ko ang mabuti na lang, mukhang okay naman sila, none other than DTI Secretary Mon Lopez and my friend Mayor Alfred Romualdez, pareho na silang nadali ng COVID-19. Awa ng Diyos, malalakas ang katawan ng dalawang yan. In any case, Congressman, I hope you have the constitution and the physical fitness to deal with this major headache called the cashless transition, the transition to cashless RFID in the NLEX and SLEX. Ano na ba ang sitwasyon natin dyan?
Ganito, Cito, it's so funny because Department Order 2020-12 was issued August 13 for a transition from cash to cashless. But in fairness to Secretary Artugade, who serves as the chairman as well, not only the Secretary of the Department of Transportation, but the chairman of the Toll Regulatory Board, he issued the circular, but mandating the Toll Regulatory Board to prepare the guideline and prepare the different concessionaires in transition from cash to cashless. However, looking at the statistics, sinasabi namin sa kanila, medyo mahirap pa po ata. One, ang dami po ng sasakyan, hindi po nare-register at hindi nalalagyan ng RFID. The statistics really, it's for National Capital Region, Regions 3 and Regions 4, where we look at it as the market for NLEX and SLEX, 6.1 million is the total number of registered vehicles out of the 12.7 registered vehicles all throughout the country. As sinasabi namin sa, if you push this now, hindi po talaga kaya. Number two, NLEX management accepted during the meeting, hindi pa po sila handa, no? So we told them that you better prepare everything and suggested to them that do everything inside the expressways, not in the public road, no? And then the rest is history. Andito na tayo. Chaos na, local governments are complaining. And I'm hoping again that we will push this back to the first quarter of next year. The speaker has already said his piece because I wrote a letter to him seeking assistance. I wrote a letter as well to the Office of the Executive, the Secretary, to the Office of the President, and the Cabinet Secretary as well regarding the issue.
Okay, now, here's the thing. At least nahimay mo. Kasi yun din yung problema namin. Ako personally, we don't have direct access to Secretary Artugade. So any comment that I make is, just based on the presumption of regularity. So lumalabas, si Secretary Tugade, he wanted the transition to cashless. But it was up to the TRB to naplansyahin kung paano yung mga magiging transition.
Tama po yan. By law, trabaho talaga ito ni Toll Regulatory Board. Maliwanagan na natin to Cito.
Okay, now, have you actually sat down with the TRB? Kasi, I'm sorry, no? Kilala mo naman ako in the short time we've known each other. I try to be fair. But I have not spoken to anyone in the TRB who gives me the impression that they are, engineering-wise, sabi nga nila, or management-wise. Parang ang mga nakakausap ko, nagsasalita lang on the issue, but really don't explain the problem. And then, sabi ko nga, yung TRB nagdikta, pero hindi naman daw parang hindi nakikinig doon sa NLEX, sa SLEX na sabi nila, mabubulunan kami dito. We will get overwhelmed by this.
Ganito yan. Kaya nga sinasabi ko, nag-usap kami 3 beses. September, November, and then finally November 25, a week before the implementation of the full RFID. At doon, inulit na naman namin, nagkaroon po tayo ng House Resolution 1367 to be specific. Sinabi natin, pushback muna natin ng January. Pangalawa, sinasabi natin, ipasok niyo muna si Department of Trade and Industry, Department of Information Communication Technology at si Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas bago niyo i-implement po ang cashless. Kasi dapat chine-check muna nila ang system ng concessionaires before the public will come in. That should be the right thing to do. Kaya hiningi po kami ng guidelines sa kanila ng manual with the corresponding timeline because that should be the proper thing to do as not to sacrifice the riding public or the commuting public. Sa ating baliktad po. Pinilit na muna ang programa, hindi pa handa ang sistema. For me, Cito, that's wrong. Now, again, as a civil engineer by profession, working on clearly on roadmap, we have to do things on its proper perspective. TRB, they have to do their job. No? And they have clearly to get as well the evaluation of the Department of Trade and Industry, the Department of Communication and Technology, and Central Bank, Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, because this is money deposited now to concessionaires, and we have a law, mind you, that's RA 11127, the National Payment Systems Act of the country.
Okay, now, Congressman, may I know, kasi you're the chairman of the Transportation Committee, and just following regular work, you have called them to the Congress, you have talked to them, you are checking on all of this. I am assuming this is in aid of legislation, or is there a part of your duty and your authority that may not necessarily be legislative but oversight? Paano ba yan,
We have an oversight function, but the sad note, we don't have the police or the executive power to push them to do so. The only thing that we can have really is during budget. That's the sad part, belonging to the legislative branch of government. That's why during the press briefing in the House, it said, if I can still catch up in the BICAM, the only remaining thing for us really is to hold on to their budget, the Toll Regulatory Board. That's why I was appealing to the Office of the Executive right now, if, again, they can sanction TRB to do its job. Kasi ulitin natin, what is happening right now, on all expressways, trabaho talaga ito ni TRB. This is an increasing number. We started with 81 kilometers. By end of 2022, from a low of 81 kilometers, we're going to bring the number up to 801 kilometers of expressways. So kailangan talagang umuupo dyan sa TRB, magaling talaga, na sila dapat ang nag-guide sa concessionaires on what should be the best thing to do to make sure that the public interest is the main consideration.
So there is a possibility that unless the TRB steps up its game, that you could, during the BICAM, kasi pag-uusapan pa yan, di ba, sa BICAM, you could actually declare a 1 peso budget for the TRB?
That's the best thing that the House, that the Congress can do pag medyo hindi talaga nagiginig. Sa note, pumasa na po, na-ratify ng budget. That's why, again, I am appealing for the Toll Regulatory Board to just do its job. Nakakatawa, ngayon pa lang po sila kumikilos.
Okay, now, so sorry, Kong, kasi I'm just pursuing what you were saying. You were saying that given the forward movement of build under President Duterte, given the expansion program for expressways, dadami pa ang ating kilometers of expressways. So you said we need good and competent people in the TRB. Have you actually mandated or hired or called on a group to evaluate who is in the TRB, what are their qualifications, and how did they get into TRB? I have to call a spade. Kasi ikaw mismo nagsabi, hindi biro yan, engineering know-how ang toll regulation. And kayo ba pinag-aaralan niyo na kung sino yung mga nakaupo dyan sa TRB? Baka naman kasi kalahati dyan puro political appointee na walang alam sa kalsada at sa toll.
Cito, that's a sad note. I'm hoping again that officials that will be placed on sensitive position will have the qualification clearly by law. There are qualifications stated therein, dapat talaga kung sino nakaupo. And again, in due respect to the office of the president, the co-equal branch of governance, of course, he's doing his job, but he has to be supported by key players as well. Kailangan po natin ito. But again, there's only one thing that seems to be lacking, and this is TRB on the level of the expressway. So, ulitin po natin, sana gawin po nila. Solution po, very simple. For the concessionaires, number one, dapat po gawin nyo ang trabaho sa loob ng expressways, not in a public road. Why? You have the width of the road, you have the shoulders, and you have the exit gates to do your thing. In-inspection ko po ito ng Friday, wala man lang silang mga informative signs. Sa sulat po natin, sinasabi ko, Cito, come up please with informative signs. Like in other countries, 3 kilometers away from the exit toll gates, may sinasabi na those who need stickers, move to the right. Yun lang sana ang pakiusap natin. Simple, basic po. Those that have stickers, maybe on the left side. Basic. Number 2, come up with manpowers, personals to man the traffic. No? Wala tayo niyan. No? Number 3, bring in the Department of Trade and Industry, bring in the Department of Communication and Technology and Bangko Sentral to evaluate first the system before supposedly implementing the cashless. No? And finally, DTI is telling us that you cannot unilaterally close down to 100%. There should be a lane that should be left behind for cash. No? Kahit ano yung pa natin, dapat mayroon talaga maiwan na isa. No? Because we are in a transition period. We studied on the study we made, clearly Indonesia, to be specific, on an apple-to-apple comparison, Indonesia and Thailand, it took them 2 years for a transition period from cash to cashless of pure RFID, and there are still lanes provided for, 1 lane na naiwan. Not necessarily buong-buo naman po talaga ito, no? Because we have to consider as well that this is something new to us.
Well, good that you mentioned that, Congressman Sarmiento, no? Kasi marami akong nakakausap in the past weeks, and that's precisely what they're pointing out. That aside from DTI, many people, many private citizens are pointing out, Cito, tiga Baguio kami. Hindi naman kami bumababa, dito lang kami sa taas. Pero once in a blue moon, kailangan namin maghatid sa airport or kailangan namin magdala ng tao sa hospital. Eh, bababa pa kami ngayon para magpakabit ng RFID na ang tagal-tagal magpakabit, mahaba ang pila, etc. And then, of course, our friends in the United States have been emailing me and saying, or Canada, in fact, we're saying na, why can't you guys just create a system na papadala na lang sa courier, kayo na ang magkabit, and pag hindi umandar, problema na yun na nagkabit. And also yung sinasabi niyong 1 lane, yun yung pinupush nila, and you're correct with that.
Ganito po yan. The proposal, I talked to GM Jojo Garcia. This was 2 days ago. Since it's already out, there's already proposals. Clearly, what we're trying to look at is to put everything into the proper perspective. You have an RFID lane, you have cash lanes, maybe 5, then gradually on a weekly basis, toll regulatory board should come up with a manual to inform the public that gradually they're going to cut down the number of cash lanes to maybe a high of 5, gradually cutting it down to maybe 4, 3, finally leaving 1 lane for cash. But you have to look at the timeline because you have to consider as well the number of vehicles that needs the RFID stickers. No? Because it is so hard just to allow anyone to put the RFID, because right now the issue at hand is you have a poor quality of RFID tag, you have a poor quality of RFID readers, and we didn't want to accuse them because, in fairness to another concessionaire, they don't have a problem of that. So again, we bring back the issue, sinasabi natin Cito, please, TRB, gawin niyo naman ang trabaho niyo. And don't hesitate, even though there's a secretary who is mandating you, you have to you come up with the good reasoning na hindi pa po talaga kaya. Huwag natin pilitin ang sistema that will have an end result of chaos. Ilagay mo naman po natin sa sistema. Sana naman nakikiusap po ang legislative branch of government, the House of Representatives. We said our piece already. We don't want to be blaming each other. Rather, we have to help come up with a good system, a solution, so that all of these things, again, mapaganda na po natin, not at the expense of the public, rather come up with a good program to be supported by the public para hindi po sila nag-iingay, rather tumutulong po sa atin kung ano man ang nakikita nila, maganda rin naman na programa.
Yeah, Congressman, did these people in the TRB or the DOTR, did they actually present you a program plan, a business model? Kasi listening to you, medyo, ikaw, may sense yung sinasabi mo. Look to the successful business model. Look to the successful experience. Thailand, Indonesia in particular, you said, took 2 years to transition. Eh dito parang pinagpilitan in under 6 months. And sabi ko, yung LTO nga during the COVID, they had to suspend registration for a few months because they understood that COVID-19 is a dangerous medical concern that they had to carefully manage.
This is ironic. We wrote them a letter seeking the program, the manuals. Even up to now, talaga hindi kami binigyan ng kopya ng programa. It's something para magusto ata official pa. Gusto pa ata nila talaga gagamitin ang Kongreso to write them an official communication. If not, sasabihin pa natin dito na ito ay kailangan i-produce nyo na para hindi naman nata dapat. Due respect to a equal branch of government, this is a committee hearing, informal notice. We told them and we wrote them a lot of communication. And again, it's so sad. We have a program and it becomes an issue, a headache, rather than being a program proactively addressed by a collective effort of the executive and the legislative branch of government. The public always suffers. Bakit ganito? Parating tanong natin. Ulitin po natin. Sana nagtutulungan. We change president once every 6 years. And this is something that is very good, in fairness to President Mayor Digong. And ayoko naman na sabihin natin na parati. We just have to make sure that any program, the reason why Cito, I've been pushing hard for the roadmap for the transportation and the infrastructure of this country, because I know that whatever momentum's read right now, whatever good things we have developed, this should continue, and it should be the executives, the career executive service officers that has to plan well. So because no matter what president and the next generations to come, sinusunod mo lang programa pag hindi pabalik-balik na lang yung problema natin, paikot-ikot na lang. No, this is one thing 18th Congress is trying to do, the leadership of the Lord Alan Velasco. We're hoping that before our term ends for the 18th Congress, we will have this tool that will guide this country moving forward, a roadmap clearly for the transportation and the infrastructure needed by this country.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Congressman Sarmiento, for giving us a better picture of the situation. And I know that you are being patient. Patience is a virtue. Pero kung yung TRB impatient at tayo ang pinipiste, baka kailangan magbawas ka na rin ng patience sa kanila kasi nakakapiko na po yung ginagawa nila. Thank you very much.
Thank you sa pagkakataon, Cito. Merry Christmas again to everyone, and thank you for the time.
Okay, thank you very much, Congressman Edgar Mary Sarmiento. Yan po, no? I mean no disrespect, but these are facts. People have been inconvenienced because of an administrative order that, from the looks of it, is not based on an actual business model or a plan. I can't believe that they have a plan because you don't implement a massive transition that involves millions. Sabi nga ni Congressman, 6 million motorists, 6 million vehicles, billions of pesos, patas ganun-ganun na lang gagawin mo in 3 months. Sorry. Until the TRB can show Congressman Sarmiento that plan, the actual study, merong mga statistics, may survey, merong engineering models, nako, ito po, nag-utos at namerwisyo kahit sila, wala naman silang ginagawa. We'll go for a quick break and we will be right back here on Agenda. Okay, you're back here on Agenda. I'm Cito Beltran, your host. Magandang araw po, magandang hapon po, magandang gabi, whether you are watching us live as we are today or later on replay. In any case, Merry Christmas. Pagpasensyaan niyo po kung nagngingit-ngit ako kanina because I consult for companies, for executives, and it is always a process. Basta may ganyang programa, show me your plan, show me your strategy, show me your goals. Pag puro ka utos at wala kang plano, wala kang programa, and then in this case, walang inputs or interaction dun sa mga stakeholders at sasabihan mo lang, kayo, toll operator, sumunod kayo. And then, sasabihin nyo sa publiko, pumila kayo at magpakabit kayo. Kailangan, December 1, meron na kayo. Puro dikta, dikta, dikta. Tapos pag nagtanungan, hindi ako, sila. Hindi kami, sila. Iyon, turuan na po. Anyway, eto, we go to another concern. And I know, in fairness, this group, or at least this department, is is open about the problem, is trying to solve the problem. Let's get to the bottom of the problem. We have with us Undersecretary Diosdado San Antonio of the Department of Education. Usec, good morning.
Morning po, Sir Cito, and good morning din po sa ating mga tagapanood at taga-subaybay.
Executive na executive ang dating natin at saka pastoral.
Nasa office.
Of course, I know. Binibiro lang naman kita, Jose, kasi siya alam mo na, magpapasko na medyo mag-aliw naman tayo ng konti. But,
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Yusek, you know the topic. The topic are essentially two tests or two surveys or whatever, two studies that were recently done or were done in the year and recently released na nagpapakitang yung Filipino students ay naiwan or lagging in various areas. Could you elaborate on these studies? Because I know when I last saw Secretary Briones, sinabi niya na, Cito, lalabas yung mga results itong mga studies na ito and they're not good. But I am not going to censor, I am not going to cover them up because it is good for everyone to know where we are and why we are so we can all collectively work on how to improve things. So, siguro where we are and why we are muna tayo, Usec.
Totoo po yun. 3 international large-scale assessments po ang sinalihan natin. Last year yung PISA, dismal din. The other week, yung pong CPLM, this is Southeast Asian Primary Learners Metrics po, grade 4. Yung pong sa PISA, high school learners, 15 years old. Ito naman pong kakalabas na TIMSS, Science and Math, ay grade 4. Grade 5 po yung sa CPLM, grade 4 tayo ngayon. Para parehas po yung trend. Talaga pong may problema ang quality of education at tama rin po yung nakwento nyo na si Secretary Liling, even before the release of all these assessments, already announced na kailangang mag-pivot sa quality ang kagawaran ng edukasyon. Ang ibig pong sabihin, previously kasi we tried very hard to cover the access. Yung mga development goals dati ang pinipilit na lahat ng K-12 learners are dapat nabibigyan natin ng educational services at to a certain extent po, gawang-gawa na natin yon at ito na nga po, yung quality ay naano na natin na kailangan ayusin. And so, Secretary Liling po, last year, prior to the release of all these results, consulted with the stakeholders and came up with sulong edukalidad. Hindi ko po alam kung narinig nyo na ito, 4 na para pong major pillars ng sulong edukalidad natin is una, yung curriculum review and updates. Pangalawa po ay parang intensification of investment on learning resources. yung tipo ay teachers upskilling and reskilling. Kasama na rin po yung mga school officials. At yung panghuli po ay engagement of stakeholders. So may acronym po kami dyan, KITE, para madali naming naaalala. Ito pong sulong edukalidad na sinimulan last year ay patuloy din po natin pinapaigting, naging mapanghamon dahil sa COVID-19. At ito po ay nakaakma rin doon sa nilabas na World Development Report of 2018, kung saan may portion po doon sinasabi kung ano yung mga factors that cause failure in learning. At parang ganyan din po yung kahandaan ng mga bata, yung galing at professionalidad ng mga guro, yung pong quality ng school leadership at yun din pong mga learning resources ang sinasabi. So, parang naka-align po lahat ng result at para parehas, ano na rin po ng ating national achievement test. Ganyan din po talaga, mababa po siya. At kung ang tanong ay, ano ba yung mga dahilan, ang nakikita po natin, yung pong sa CPLM, yung 5 ibang bansa na nag-take, ang mga bata po ay nag-take ng exam using the mother tongue. Yung kanila pong language sa bahay, yun ang language of the assessment.
Okay.
Dito po sa atin, dahil ang requirement po kung ano yung language of teaching, yun ang language of the assessment. Sa grade 5 po ay English na yung mga subject natin sa samantala pong siyempre sa bahay, hindi naman English speakers yung mga bata. So, maaaring ito po ang isang tinitingnan natin.
But Usec, time out lang, no? Regarding that, why should that be an issue? Because ikaw, lumaki tayo, English speaking, English reading, English proficient tayo, no mga bata tayo. Where did we fail with this new generation?
Ang tinitingnan po natin yung while ako po personally supportive sa idea that the early grades should learn using the mother tongue. At yan po, may batas po tayo dyan that should do mother tongue-based multilingual education. Pero po, more than 100 yung languages natin. Ang pinayagan lang po kasing gamitin ay 19 major languages ang ginamit. So may parang hindi rin po authentic na nai-implement yung paggamit ng mother tongue sa early grades. Kasi nga po, hindi pa rin talaga first language ng bata yung nakikita nila sa mga ibang lugar na hindi na po nabigyan ng learning resources. At ito po ay ang implementation naman, kailangan daw mayroon tayong orthography.
So at the end of the day, Usec, would it be fair to say, kasi yung sinasabi mong language, am I correct, language ba per se o dialect?
Kasama na po yung mga dialects sa sinasabi natin.
So, kasi isa lang yan eh. Kung yung test international, sinasabi mo na doon sa ibang bansa, hindi English ang ginamit. Ginamit yung mother tongue. Dito sa Pilipinas, dapat hindi English, dapat Tagalog. Pero sasabihin din ng iba, hindi naman kami Tagalog, Bisaya kami. So, there will always be an excuse for failure, but it doesn't address the basic problem that we have to identify how we are going to communicate.
Opo. May tama po yung point nyo na may issue yung yung implementation ng language of teaching and learning policy. At tinitingnan po namin ito at dapat bago nag-COVID, magko-convene kami ng forum with the language experts to enlighten us, provide us inputs kung ano po ang pinaka-most appropriate way. But isang factor lang po yan.
Parang pero para lang maliwanag sa mga nakikinig, Usec, no? Kasi personal experience ko ito eh. Pag ikaw nagtagalog sa Cebu, medyo ganun eh. Lalo na kung lecturer ka, Tagalog ka ng Tagalog, sabihan ka ng mga kaibigan ko sa Cebu, pwede ba mag-English ka na lang, marunong na kami mag-English eh. Tapos sa Visayas, Mindanao, I tried just for the sake of connectivity and rapport, sabi ko magbibisaya ako. So nagbisaya ako and after a while nilapitan ako ng isang manager ng BMEG at sinabi, Kuya Cito, mag-English ka na lang o mag-Tagalog ka na lang. Sabi ko, bakit? I'm trying to do Bisaya. Kasi yung Bisaya mo, halo-halong Bisaya, Ilonggo. So nalilito lalo yung mga nakikinig sa lecture mo. Tsaka alam mo kuyang, marunong naman silang magtagalog. Sabi ko, paano mo nasabi yun? Lahat yan nanonood ng probinsyano. Lahat yan, mga fans ni si Cardo ba yun or something. So parang, well, just to point that out to our listeners, na talagang we have reached a point na kung yung mga bata lalabas na mahina dahil lang sa confuse yung ating mode of communication or preferred language, dapat ma-address. Pero alam ko, Usec Dado, Dads, ikaw hindi ba you are a proponent of simplified and prioritized curriculum? Di ba, nung nag-usap tayo nun, ikaw yung nagsabi na sa totoo lang, dapat mabawasan talaga at ituro lang yung talagang kailangan.
Actually, yun din po ang directions natin. Sasabihin ko po sana kanina na yung solution po sa challenge of quality, hindi simple. Talagang systemic. Yan, ang dami pong mga factors na kailangan i-address. Kasama na po yung una nga, dito sa sulong edukalidad, yung po talagang curriculum review and update. Na ang direction po natin, parang very clear na po ito sa amin, is really to push for the foundational competencies and the most important ones as being given emphasis. Kasi po, kahit po dito sa review natin, okay yung content and performance standards, pero po ang learning competencies ang dami-dami. Which could be the reason why wala na pong natitira sa mga nauunawaan yung bata kasi ang daming tinatry na i-cover, hindi naman malalim. Mas gusto po natin na mas malalim yung pagkakaunawa kaysa pinapadami. Kasi ako po naniniwala na if we make children ready to learn on their own, ano na po yan, mas magiging marunong yung mga Pilipino. Kaysa naman gusto nating punuin ng marami na yun na nga po, hindi masyadong na ma-master yung pagkakaunawa.
May kilala akong 2 bata doon sa lugar namin sa Lipa, Batangas Yung kanilang tinirahan noon medyo liblib, walang mga kapitbahay. At tapos homeschooling sila. Hindi ko alam na before I met the kids, I didn't know about their background. Dinala sa bahay namin, pinasyal. Tapos, kausap yung anak ko, Englishera, yung 2 bata, magaling, very intelligent, very creative. Tapos sabi ko, saan school niyo pinapadala? Hindi ko yan, homeschool yung 2 yan. So, I believe in what you're saying. Children have the ability to teach themselves, educate themselves, of course, with guidance. Pero matanong ko lang, on the average, sa pangkalahatan, gaano ba karaming subjects ang inaaral ng isang bata ngayon sa elementarya?
8 po. 8.
Ano ba yun? Sobrang dami ba yun? O dapat pa bang bawasan yun? Kasi pag nadidinig ko itong mga ibang grupo, dapat i-introduce yung ganito, dapat isaksak ito.
Ang learning areas naman po, okay, sa akin, okay lang po yung learning areas. Ang issue po, yung laman sa loob, yung competencies na iniisa-isa nating nililista. Kaya po, di ba, ngayong COVID-19 times, ang curriculum po natin, 40% lang, pero yung most foundational hinanap natin, ang tawag po namin, most essential learning competencies. And ang tingin po namin, ng team namin ay i-expand lang ito ng kaunti. Hindi na tayo babalik doon sa napakalaki, hopefully at the end of our curriculum review.
Bakit?
Na ang commitment po namin kay Secretary Liling, by end of 2021, may draft na kami ng version for consultation with stakeholders para po marinig naman natin yung mga opinion ng mga ibang experts. Pero po yung trabaho ay, yan po ang top priority rin ng aming strand na may commitment po kami na itong expand, hopefully updated curriculum natin na sabi ko nga po, masyado lang streamlined pero focus dun sa mga importante, marunong magbasa, marunong sa numeracy, maayos yung mga pagpapahalaga ng bata kasi I also believe na yung values po ay hindi natin dapat i-abandon. At pag ganito po, tama po yung sinabi nyo, the children are innately curious. So, yung mga gusto nilang maunawaan, they can explore the world basta marunong silang magbasa at mag-communicate at yung mga basics ng numeracy.
Usec, that's matanong ko lang. Kasi first point you mentioned why we were weak in the surveys or in the studies was because of the language used by the children for testing. Now, ano pa yung mga ibang dahilan? O sinabi mo rin natin yung curriculum. Walang specialization, so to speak, yung mga bata. Sa dami ng kailangang pag-aralan sa isang subject matter, parang siguro social studies o history, pangkaraniwan pinag-aaralan lang natin history of the Philippines o history of Southeast Asia. Pero yung iba, history of Europe, history of America, etc. So, masyadong marami, pero kokonti ang nare-retain. So, ano pa yung mga ibang dahilan? What are the other reasons why our children are not doing well on those international studies?
Siguro makakatulong din po if I share na consistent din sa tatlong international studies yung existence ng disparities sa achievement on account of certain factors. May mga identified po na disadvantaged learners, like yung po in terms of gender, the girls tend to outperform the boys in almost all learning areas. Kahit po sa math, while in most countries dito sa TIMSS na ito, mas magaling yung mas mataas yung performance ng mga lalaki. Sa atin pong bansa, we are lagging behind. So disadvantage po yung mga boys when compared with their classmates who are girls. Ang isa pong reason ay
why has gender? No, you're touching on a very important point, Usec, no? Because this is obviously gender. And this sa ating bansa, sa ating kultura, iba yung trato natin sa lalaki, iba yung trato natin sa babae, iba yung binibigyan nating pananaw at pag-iisip sa lalaki kaysa sa babae. Ngayon, here's a chance for you to explain ano yung mali.
Ang nakikita po natin, usually po yung mga boys, especially sa formative years, kahit yata hanggang sa, sabi ni Secretary Liling, hanggang yata sa college days, ang tendency po ng mga boys playful, so they do not engage themselves so much in yung academic work, kung ano-ano ang mga pinagkakaabalahan. Samantala pong normally, parang generally, although hindi naman ito stereotype kasi talagang common, mas naka-focus sa pag-aaral usually yung mga girls, lalo na sa early grades o sa high school po. At ang sabi nga naman po ni Secretary Liling, but after yun daw sa UP nilang naaral, lalo na sa College of Medicine, parang pantay na o na-outperform na ulit ng mga boys yung mga classmates nila. So sa basic ed po, parang ang possible explanation is yung pong orientation nga na usually mas studious at focus sa mga academic work yung mga girls. Dati po concerned din ito na for a long time naririnig ko when I was a younger professional, yung mga girls yung concerned that they are not able to really take part sa academic activities, etc. But dito po sa atin nabaliktad na. And ang isang personal ko po, parang opinion ay yun na nga, mas mahilig maglalaro yung mga lalaki. Ako po, all boys, lahat mahilig ng computer games. So, pinag-aawayan namin yung focus on studies. So, yung pong ganito ay factor.
But what should parents do? Kasi alam mo, Usec, I go to a church, yung sa Victory Christian Fellowship sa Every Nation. And through the years, isang bagay na tumatak sa akin yung church namin, make men accountable. Make men responsible. Kung yung nakaraang buhay mo o gag ka, puro ka laro, puro ka good time. When we became members of the church, the leadership training was about men must take the role of leader, must be accountable, and must be the example. Tama ka, yung mga bata lumalaki, is this because of media? I'm willing to hear it. Kung kasalanan ba namin to? Kasi ang pinapakita sa TV, sa telebisyon, puro na lang laro at puro lalaki yung naglalaro.
Ang tingin ko po, buong society and part din yung media, part kaming school. So kami po, ang challenge sa amin, nag-uusap na rin po kami ng aming team. Gusto ko mag-push kami ng mga active interventions that will be in a form of affirmative action for this disadvantaged group of learners. So, titingnan namin, baka yung pedagogy, yung manner of teaching, is not also as interesting to the boys as the girls. Parang may mga ganyan pong lumalabas sa literature na kailangan kahit yung pedagogy natin, yung approaches at strategies at kahit yung pagbibigay ng mga requirements, kailangan i-consider din yung mga naturalesa o yung mga nature ng mga learners at suitable dapat doon. So, isang bagay po yung gender na yan. Kung gusto niyo pong marinig yung iba pa po, halimbawa po, on the basis of socioeconomic status, ano rin po, very evident yung disparity between the learners coming from the families with the means and families who are somehow deprived economically. Malayong-malayo po. And the other thing is, tapos po yung public and private, which could be explained by the socioeconomic factor as well, ay private schools po tend to outperform. Dito po sa tatlong assessment, consistent din po yun, mas mataas yung mga score ng mga takers nila. At yung pa pong urban and rural settings, yung urban learners are also outperforming our rural learners generally. May mga outliers po. At ito rin po ang tinitingnan natin. At kami po, kahit po mababa naman tayo, halimbawa sa PISA, may na-identify din po kami mga schools whose scores were at par with the best schools in the other countries.
Yun na nga. Well, teka, Usec, no? Sorry, medyo talagang curious ako dyan sa sinishare mo na yan, eh, no? Hindi, kasi nakakapikon yung madidinig mo na hindi kasi yung mga nasa probinsya o nasa labas ng Metro Manila o labas ng syudad, mas mahina ang performance kasi sa economic disparity. Kasi ang makikita ko lang na economic disparity ay yung aircon ng private school, yung kanilang internet at kanilang laptop, or is this also about nutrition? Kasi kung sasabihin mo sa akin, alam mo, Cito, mahina ang nutrition ng mga batang nasa probinsya. Kanya sabi nga ni Cynthia Villar, di ba? I remember Senator Villar once saying na itong kahinaan ng mga bata ay kasalanan ng isang grupo. Ewan ko kung sa bigas ba yun or whatever. But she was referring to nutrition. Is it really about logistics, as in rooms, school rooms, aircon, computers? Is it nutrition?
When I cited the difference between urban and rural learners and public and private, I was referring more to the socioeconomic status as well of families. Kasi po, generally, yung private school learners are coming from the families with means. So parang na-echo lang po yung isang performance indicator na sabi ko nga, grabe ang disparity yung the learners from upper social classes compared with the poor. So parang ang tingin ko po dito, it's not really about, even sa teaching naman po, yung quality of the teachers, tingin ko po parehas naman. In fact, nagrereklamo po yung private sector kasi grabe yung migration ng teachers nila sa public school. So it should not be a consideration. So in a way po, pag socio-economic consideration ang pinag-uusapan, tama po kayo, nutrition is a factor. Mas well-nourished po yung mga anak ng mga middle and upper classes.
Last point.
So yung pong mga ganito ay nakikita natin talaga kailangan hindi lang siguro yung DEPED but the whole society should really help us in coming up with the affirmative actions for the disadvantaged group of learners. Kasi po, tingin ko, maliban sa generally mababa na nga, mas marami yung mga nasa disadvantaged classes. So, napupull down po talaga tayo sa mga ganitong results.
Last minute na tayo, Usec. Quickly na lang, please.
Okay, ang ano lang po, gusto rin natin sabihin, we are transforming the National Educators Academy of the Philippines because we want our training programs for our teachers to really address their needs to be more competent and committed, and also our school leaders. And grateful po kami sa government and sa non-government sector and even local governments because they have been overwhelmingly supportive of all our endeavors. So yung issue po sa resources, hindi gaanong kasing challenging.
Huwag niyo kalimutan si Senator Win Gatchalian kasi talagang nanggigigil siya na mareforma yung ating pamamaraan. And I interviewed him the other day. So in any case, thank you very much, Undersecretary Diosdado San Antonio. Marami po kayong na-share at marami tayong naungkat. Sana yung mga nakikinig medyo mapag-isipan nila. Kasi sabi mo nga, kailangan maayos ang kinakain ng mga bata. Porque mahirap po ang buhay, pwede naman tayo magtanim ng kamote, ng gabi, ng saging, di ba? Anyway, thank you very much, Usec. God bless you. And Merry Christmas and pakikamusta na lang si Secretary Liling. Sabihin mo,
Yes
miss
po.
ko na siya. Okay.
Mabuhay po kayo.
Okay, thank you very much. That's Undersecretary Diosdado San Antonio. He is with the Department of Education and sa kanya, from what I recall, ang puso niya talaga nandoon sa curriculum reform. Hindi sa pagbabawas ng bilang ng subject, kung hindi sa paghimay ng mga requirements ng mga subject na yon. Kasi nga naman, may mga bagay-bagay na tinuturo pa, sinasama pa. Parang doon sa arithmetic, mathematics, biglang may nakasaksak na geometry, trigonometry, etc. Parang doon lang sa college. In any case, we'll go for a quick break and when we return, puntahan naman natin yung mga beloved nurses natin and health workers. Ano ba yan? Naka-isampa na nga sa hukay. Magpipill up the form para lang mabayaran yung kanilang allowance para sa pagtaya ng buhay. Okay, we will go right back. Please stay with us. Okay, pag ako po biglang tumayo din at nawala sa frame, ibig sabihin nun tumakbo ako sa banyo. Ang lupit talaga nitong aking executive producer na ito. Hindi man lang ako pina-CR break. Palibasa talagang yung kanyang puso nababagabag dito sa mga nurses natin na hazard pay na kailangan mag-apply pa ng ewan ko ba, paano bang system? Ano ba nangyari din Puntahan natin si Maristela Abenojar, suki na natin, President of Filipino Nurses United, and si Robert Mendoza, President of Alliance of Health Workers. Okay, Robert, good morning.
Good morning, Sir Cito, at sa lahat ng mga nanonood ng ating programang agenda.
Okay. Robert, paki-explain nga sa mga viewers natin kasi medyo yung iba hindi maintindihan. Sinabi nating lahat na ang ating health workers, frontliners ay mga bagong bayani. Kung meron tayong bayaning OFW, ngayon ang bayani for 2020 ay kayong mga frontline workers. Ano itong nababalitaan namin na nagkakaproblema raw dahil meron daw requirement na mag-fill up kayo ng form, ng kung ano-anong dokumento kailangan i-submit para makuha ninyo yung hazard pay. Pagkakaintindi namin, hindi ba dapat pag sweldo mo, ayun na yun, sinasama na lang yun, SOP na, parang add-on. Paano ba nangyayari?
Sa amin po sa health workers, yung hindi ka tanggap-tanggap sa mga health workers tatakdan sila ng deadline ng Department of Health na magsabit ng mga pangalan para mabigyan lang ng active hazard duty pay at special risk allowance. Kakauti ng ating mga health workers at pinili lang ang bibigyan at tinakdaan pa ng mga deadline. Sa kabila ng sinseridad ng health workers na itaya ang kanilang buhay sa paglaban ng nakakamatay na COVID, tatakdaan pa sila ng deadline. Ibig bang sabihin ng Department of Health pag hindi nila natugunan ang tinaktang deadline ay hindi na sila bibigyan ng actual hazard duty pay at special risk allowance. So, ito yung nakakalungkot po, Sir Cito, kasi ito ay parang sinasabi ng ating presidente, ng ating gobyerno na kami yung mga bagong hero ngayon dahil kami po yung nakikibaka para doon sa pagbibigay ng pagsugpo ng COVID po. Pero bakit pati yung actual hazard duty pay at saka special risk allowance parang pinagdadamot, nakarampot na nga lang ito na benepisyo para sa ating mga health workers. Bakit kailangan pa ng mga requirements? Kasi yung na sinasabi niyo po, dapat parang sweldo na automatic na doon na. Kaya nakakalungkot po kasi matagal na itong ating mga health workers na pagod na dahil understaffed na. At the same time, walang maayos na mga benepisyo rin na binibigay ng ating gobyerno. Minsan, bigay bawi pa nga. Minsan, hanggang ngayon nga, yung performance-based bonus sa 2018-2019 ay hindi pa rin naibibigay. So, ito yung namin, sentimento. Kasi nadidemoralize ang ating mga health workers. Sa tagal ng panahon ng paninilbihan natin, bakit hindi na lang automatikong ilagay na? At dapat wala ng requirements. Kasi, ang stand natin dyan, ang hospital o yung mga areas na nandoon natin mga health workers ay high risk na tayo lahat. Kasi yung virus naman, hindi naman siya namimili kung saan siya dadapuhin o kung saan siya pupunta. So dapat ibigay ito ng pantay-pantay sa mga health workers. Dapat yung requirements na yan, wala na sa requirements. Pag sinabi ng hospital, automatic lahat ng mga health workers ay kasama doon sa benepisyo.
Okay, Robert, standby ka lang, no? Huwag kang aalis, huwag kang bibitaw. Pakakausapin lang natin si Maristela Abenojar, na President naman ng Filipino Nurses United, on the phone. Maristela, magandang umaga sa'yo.
Yung mga tagapakinig.
Okay, Maristela, ano na naman to bago na namang sakit ng ulo? Nung huli tayong nag-usap, ang napag-usapan natin yung nagiging plus-minus sa sweldo ng mga government nurses. Yung mga bagong pasok tinaasan, yung nasa taas naman binawasan, etc. Ito, ano na naman tong kailangan mag-fill up daw ng forms at magpalista yung mga nurses o health workers para makakuha ng hazard pay. Hindi ba dapat automatic na lang yun na sinasama sa sweldo sa ospital?
Tama po yun, Sir Cito. Dapat simplified lang po ang proseso ng pagbibigay ng benepisyo. Kasi ito naman po ay inabangan ng mga health workers ng several months na dapat sana nakuha na nila. Kung natatandaan po ninyo, dire-diretso ang mga pagkilos ng mga nurses at ibang health workers. Talaga pong sinasabi po nila na dapat ibigay sa kanila yung entitled sa kanila na hazard pay at yung pong special rate allowance. Pero since March, marami tayong kasamahan na hindi tumatanggap. Hinintay po natin yan, hinintay ng mga health workers several months. Tapos ngayon, nung tumugon po sila doon sa aming panawagan, agaran naman po ang binigay nilang proseso na pagre-release. No? Gusto po nila na maibigay lahat ng requirements nila na hindi sapat ang araw na palugit. Na ilababa lang po ito na discuss sa mga private and government hospitals noong Friday. Tapos tumaas po ang Sabado-Linggo. Lunes, yun lang po yung time nilang mag-asikaso. Tuesday is holiday, deadline ng Wednesday. So parang hindi nga po fair. Kung hinintay sila ng mga health workers in several months, bakit ngayong meron ng pondo, ipitin mo naman po ang mga health workers.
Okay, Maristela, quickly na lang, no, kasi medyo ninenervyos ako sa ating clarity ng linya. Pero ano bang mga requirements ang hinihingi sa inyo?
yung kailangan po mag-submit ang HR ng isang form kung saan nakalista po ang lahat ng eligible na health workers. At ang ibig sabihin po nun, babalikan po yung kanilang duty na i-deliver mula po ng September 15 hanggang November 30. So, ano po silang ward naka-assign, ilan po ang COVID patients at that time, ano po yung kanilang job description. Tapos isa-summarize po yun ng HR. Tapos yun naman pong December 1 hanggang 19, ang requirement ay yung pong approved na duty schedule nila para po makomplete yung September 15 to December 19. Sir Cito, napakaliit lang naman po nung amount ibibigay ng pamahalaan. Ang active hazard duty pay po na sinasabing 3,000 a month, i-divide pa po yan sa 22 days. Kaya lalabas po na kada araw, ang hazard pay po ay 136 pesos and 40 centavos.
Anak
Maliit
ng
po yan.
ewan.
Hello?
Hello, pasensya ka na. Napaanak ng ewan ako doon sa sinabi mo, 130.
Ay,
Akala ko naman, akala ko 300, 400 a day yung pinag-uusapan eh. Hello, pambili lang pala ng sandwich, tsaka soft drinks.
Opo, 136 pesos and 40 centavos per day. Tapos imumultiply po yan kung ilang araw kang actual na pumasok. Yan po sa hazard pay. Sa special days allowance naman po ay 5,000 ang sinabi nila, pero yung 5,000 i-divide po sa 22 days. Ang labas po niyan ay 227 pesos and 30 centavos a day. So, ang liit din po. Kaya pagsamahin mo man po yan, ay nasa mga 350 pesos lang po a day. Yung matatanggap nila, hazard pay at special days allowance.
But hindi naman yun, hindi naman yun araw-araw, no? Maristela, hindi naman yun araw-araw kayo binibigyan yung hazard pay na yan, di ba? O no special risk allowance.
Ibibigay ko nila yan sa actual duty kung ilang araw.
Actual duty lang yan. Okay, puntahan natin, balikan natin si Robert Mendoza naman. Robert, tungkol dito sa sinasabing pero ang hindi ko maintindihan, Robert, hindi ba sa hospital, yung duty ninyo, yung oras na nagsilbi kayo, nag-duty kayo, nakalag naman lahat yun, di ba? At dapat yun na, problema na dapat ng human resources yun.
Yes po, dapat automatic po nang ibibigay yan. Kasi ang gusto mo natin, wala na dapat requirements. Kasi kung itinakda kasi sa health facility na hospital ka, automatic yun na dapat, kasi high risk ka na, yung hospital. So dapat lahat, hindi dapat pinipili ang bibigyan ng actual hazard duty pay at saka special risk allowance. Kaya ito yung gusto natin na sana po...
Bakit? Sinong na-exclude? Kasi ang pagkaintindi ko, kung health worker, nurse, doktor, medical technician, ambulance driver.
Ang doon sa special risk allowance po, mayroon na silang itinakda kung sino lang yung pwedeng maka-avail nito. So, ang sinasabi lang yung mga direct contact COVID patients. Paano na yung ibang tao na kasama doon sa support services na doon din, pares na sila na dinadaanan na gate, ng pintuan ng hospital, bakit po pipiliin ang virus hindi naman namimili? Diba? Sana lahat, sana equal, sana ang ibigay, pantay-pantay para sa mga health workers. Dapat wala nang pinipili kasi ang virus naman nandyan lang sa loob ng hospital. Kahit
pero Robert, liwanagin ko lang kasi siyempre, alam mo, maalam na rin yung mga viewers natin sa mga hospital. Kasi sa hospitals, merong COVID section and non-COVID section. So, ang presumption is, kasi ang naintindihan ko, magagalit ka kung nasa COVID section ka, pagkatapos wala kang hazard pay kasi hindi mo mismo inaasikaso yung COVID positive patient. Pero nandoon ka, ikaw yung naglilinis, ikaw yung nagproseso, ikaw yung naghahatid sa pasyente.
Yung lang kasi, ngayon, nung dati meron na pong Joint Circular number 1, yung Joint Circular ng DOH at saka DBM, na dati sa panahon ng Secretary Ona, naglagay ng low risk at saka high risk. Subalit yung ating mga hospital, dahil idiniklara ito ng mga direktor na high risk, hindi kami sumunod doon sa low risk at saka sa high risk. So ginawa namin high risk talaga ng hospital, kahit hindi ka na-assign sa COVID area, pero nasa loob ka ng hospital, magkasama dapat yung pantay-pantay dapat ang hazard pay na ibigay sa mga health workers. So, yun nga, dahil napanalo na naman yung Supreme Court na sinasabi na dapat ang hospital talaga ay high risk. So, dapat ibigay ito ng pantay-pantay sa mga health workers. Dapat wala nang pinipili kasi kung titingnan natin ang ating census, mas marami na nga sa non-COVID area ang nahawaan din dahil wala naman silang PPEs na sinusuot, face shield lang or face mask lang, gown. Pero sana, lahat sana mabigyan, hindi yung pinipili lang ang bibigyan ng special risk allowance, dapat lahat ng mga empleyado.
Sabagay, naintindihan ko yung sentimento nyo ni Maristela kasi public hospital lang nga kayo, takbuhan kayo ng bayan, kahit na meron ng hospital, di ba, doon sa Visayas, kalimutan ko na lang, doon sa Tacloban, doon pa nga nagsimula yung infeksyon. Yung pagkalat ng COVID. So medyo talagang naintindihan ko. Ano na ba sitwasyon? Meron bang nakikinig sa DOH o sino bang may nagpipilit yung mga requirement na yan sa DBM ba o sa DOH?
Sa DOH, autusan po yan sa Joint Circular number 1 and 2. Ngayon, kahapon, nasa Department of Health kami, nagkaroon kami ng kilos protesta, at kinausap naman kami ni Joseph Vega, siya yung OIC doon, at pinaliwanag niya sa amin na depende na lang daw po yun sa discretion ng management. Kasi sabi niya, na dapat, kung bibigyan lahat ang mga health workers, nasa discretion ng management, i-justify lang ng management. Sabi nga namin, bakit iniiba-iba ang inyong joint circular at nalilito yung mga ating hospital management kung ano ba ang susundin nila. Kasi natatakot din sila na magkaroon ng POA findings at ma-disallow yung mga health workers. Sana sabi namin, klaruhin yung order na dapat kung hospital ka man or kung nasa RHO ka man na may direct contact ka man sa ating mga kumadrona, sa mga parang health workers, automatic yun na dapat ibigay. Huwag nang wag nang ibahin yung parang nakakalito yung kanilang order.
Okay. Balikan ko Sige, Robert. Balikan ko naman si Maristela. Maristela, sa grupo mo, anong reaction nyo? Kasi puro kayo nurse. Kanya nga lang, may nurse na nasa COVID section, may nurse na sa non-COVID section. Anong position nyo dito sa issue na ito?
Kanina lang po, Sir Cito, kausap po ang isang chief nurse sa private hospital dito sa NCR. Para alamin lang po kung sila po ba ay nakaabot doon sa deadline na binigay ng DOH. Sabi naman po niya, itong araw na ito, kanina, na-isumiti na nila. Nakiusap daw po talaga sila sa Department of Health. Kasi nga po, yung guidelines doon po sa DOH and DBM Joint Circular number 2, ang special risk allowance daw po ay para lang sa directly catering to or in contact with the COVID patient. Ngayon po, kung ganyan po ang titignan, ang po ng DOH ay yung nasa COVID-19 lang na ward. Pero pinaglaban po nila sa pangunguna po ng chief nurse na kausap natin na meron pong mga iba pang nurses at iba pang health workers yan, nursing attendant at caregiver na exposed din po kahit wala sila sa COVID-19 patient. Halimbawa po, tinatawag na para po sa EUI, persons under investigation, yung naghihintay pa po ng validation ng result. Tapos meron din po mga nasa emergency ward. Lahat naman po dadaan doon. Kaya ang sabi niya, kailangan sila din ay i-consider na mabigyan ng special risk kasi hindi lang po nakalimit yun dun sa actual na may diagnosis na COVID-19 na nag-aalaga. So yun po, pati po yung naghahatid ng pagkain, yung ganun po, at nagtulak, mga nursing assistants, ng wheelchair or ng stretcher, ay naisama po nila. So ito po yung maganda na ang ating mga health workers ay hindi naman talaga ano na rin po, naging assertive na rin po sila, natuto na rin po sila talagang
Okay.
lumapad na hindi lang basta tumunod doon sa literal na guidelines, kundi igiit na ito ang dapat. Kasi
Okay,
po,
but Maristela,
Opo.
Maristela, ang tanong ko lang, ano ito? So, bali lalabas tayo case-to-case laban. Ano ba sabi ni Usec Vega? Kasi parang mangyayari kung sino ang pinakamakulit, sino maingay, baka yun lang ang mapapagbigyan.
Kaya nga po, ang ating mga organisasyon ng mga health workers, halimbawa po yung koalisyon ng mga union sa private hospital, ang Alliance of Health Workers, ang Filipino Nurses United, ay isa po yung sinasabi natin na pagpapaalam ng informasyon sa ating mga public para po pare-pareho tayo ng galaw. At yun na rin po talaga yung nangyayari ngayon. Kasi ayaw na po namin na magpalimita lang dahil po hindi po fair yung labanan. Sila po yung may hawak ng pera, pero sila yung nagdidikta, sila yung dapat bigyan, at hindi kinukonsulta yung mga actual nating mga frontliners na affected ng benefit. Kaya,
Okay, mo Maristela, papalo up natin yan. Maraming salamat sa panahon mo. Medyo malapit na tayo magtapos. Balikan ko muna si Robert. Thank you, Maristela.
Salamat po, Sir Cito. Opo.
Okay, Robert, balikan kita. Dito sa sitwasyon na ito, paano ang labanan? Meron pa ba kayo? Mag-a-appeal ba kayo? May pupuntahan ba kayong paboritong congressman o senador? Paano ba labanan dyan?
Pero so far, nung nag-usap kami with Music Vega sa Department of Health, sir, sinabi na niya na nasa discretion ng mga director ng mga hospital ang kanilang kung bibigyan lahat ng mga ng hazard pay at saka specialized allowance. Pero ang request lang namin, magpadala ulit ng panibagong department order na para klaruhin. Kasi yung ibang director ay natatakot na baka makuha sila. So dapat linaw. Tapos, Sir Cito, dagdag ko lang po, sana yung mga nasa LGUs, yung ating mga midwives na frontliners, kasi kawawa rin sila, wala silang hazard. Ang sa Maynila, o sa NCR, sa ibang DOS hospital, mayroon ng 5%, 25% ng hazard pay from salary grade 19 and below. Pero ang ating mga nasa LGUs na mga health workers, wala pa talaga yung iba, hindi pa nakakatikim ng hazard pay, yung nasa under the Magna Carta public health workers. At sana dito sa bayanihan 2 na ito, lahat sana mabigyan kasama yung ating mga midwives at saka barangay health workers. Dahil naman ang nasa frontline din sa mga LGUs din.
Hayaan mo, ilalapit natin yan sa DILG. Pero matanong ko lang, ilan naman ang naka-avail? Kung sa out of 100, how many percent ang nakakakuha naman ng hazard pay at ng special risk allowance? At ilan yung hindi aabot dito sa tinamaan ng EWA na deadline na ito?
Doon, sir, sa mga directors, kasi mayroon lang kasing area na kung yung mga direct COVID patient care, at saka yung mga ibang support na mga area na mayroon namang contact with the linen, mga ganon. So, mas mababa lang, pili lang talaga, mababang porsyento lang ng mga empleyado ang makakabil ng SRA na ito na specialized allowance kumpara doon sa actual hazard duty pay. Pero ang gusto nga natin, dapat pantay-pantay na kasi ang hospital talaga, yung iba pang mga facilities ay talagang high risk. Dapat wala nang pinipili kasi ang virus naman, wala siyang pinipili kung saan siya dadako.
Kumbaga, konsiderasyon na lang ito na bigay natin sa mga health workers, frontliners, dahil hindi naman sila nag-apply para ipusta o isugal yung kanilang buhay. Sila ay nag-apply, pumasok upang manilbihan na magbigay ng lunas. Pero dahil sa COVID-19, ang pagbibigay ng lunas ay kasama na yung isang paa ninyo nasa hukay. Para lang maintindihan ng mga viewers natin, many health workers went and applied for those jobs to help others. But, under COVID-19, when there is a direct threat to the lives of our health workers, it's only fair that we should at least give them some additional consideration. Kasi po, yun na. Mabuti pa si Ellen DeGeneres nagbibigay ng SUV sa Filipino nurse doon sa Amerika. Dito, ay naghahabol pa kayo ng tambol mayor para maka-apply. Ano ba yung deadline na yan? Bakit daw may deadline? Yun ang hindi ko maintindihan, Robert. Bakit daw may deadline?
May sinet silang deadline kasi gusto nila na kasi ang nakatakdang panahon lang para maibigay is from September up to December 15. So, naghahabol sila kasi baka umabot pa na sa next year at wala pang nagsasabit ng mga requirements. Baka hindi na rin magamit yung pondong yan. Ang problema nga, Sir Chico, kasi ang COVID kasi tuloy-tuloy yan mula pa noong March hanggang December. Ang una sa bayanihan, binigyan lang ng March 15 to May 15. And then sa bayanihan to September 15 to December 15. So, ano na nangyari sa COVID doon sa June, July, August? Bakit hindi nabigyan ng tuloy-tuloy ng hazard pay at saka specialist allowance sa mga health workers? Ibig bang sabihin na natigil si COVID doon sa panahon ng May, June, July or August, di ba? Parang hindi siya hindi siya makatarungan kasi doon nga sa mga buwang na yan, doon dumami ang mga health workers na na-infect at saka dumami rin ang ating mga pasyente. Sana tuloy-tuloy yan dahil nagdeklara naman si Presidente Duterte ng state of emergency.
Well, Robert, tatapusin ko na dito kasi ayokong maawa sa inyo at hindi kayo dapat makaawa at hindi kayo dapat mag-justify. Kasi kayo ginagawa niyo yung trabaho ninyo. Kailangan yun namang mga nasa DOH ay gawin yung trabaho nila. Anyway, thank you very much, Robert Mendoza, President of Alliance of Health Workers.
Thank you very much, Sir Cito.
Okay, yan po si Robert Mendoza and we've come to the closing of our program. But let me just point out something. Ito pong bagay na hazard pay. Meron yan sa pulis, meron yan sa doktor, meron yan sa bumbero. Kahit wala pang COVID, binibigay natin yan sa kanila. Ito may COVID, taya ang buhay ng doktor, ng nurse, ng medical technician, ng lab technician, ng ambulance driver, ng mga job order employees. And papahabulin pa natin sila para sa deadline kasi some idiot did not realize that if they had done it months ago, we wouldn't have this concern about budgets. Kasi alam niyo po kung ano itong deadline na ito? Kasi mag-December 31, finish or not finish, pass your papers. Yan po yung sitwasyon. Ang hirap dito, yung tao, yung mga nurse natin, mga frontliners natin, tinataya buhay. Tayo nga mga pasyente, ayaw na natin pumunta sa ospital dahil natatakot tayo. Yung mga ito ba, merong choice? Do they have a choice whether to go to work or not? No. Their lives are in the hands of being careful and in God. The very least we can do, especially those people in authority and responsible for this, should bear in mind that the little money we give them is wala Buhay ang katapat. Buhay ang tinataya. Mahiya naman kayo. That's all I have to say. In any case, that's agenda for today. Sorry, I now have to suddenly downshift. Kasi kung hindi, baka lalo pang lumala usapan. Maraming salamat po sa pagpunta ninyo, sa pagsali ninyo dito sa agenda. And if you have a voice, if you have a way on social media, make an issue of this. Kasi Pasko or no Pasko, dapat yung ating frontliners, hindi lang puro daldal ang pagkilala natin. Bigyan naman natin kahit konti, kahit na yung anak ng ewan, 136, pambili lang ng soft drinks at sandwich. God bless all of you. Have a great day and be vigilant so that we can give back to those who give their lives for us. Thank you very much.